the muscles that we're talking about today that are, I feel personally, are most responsible for long-term health are the core muscles and all of the skeletal muscles that are most responsible for our movements. There, as I said, there are 640 muscles in the body, give or take a few, but the skeletal muscles that create the movement in our body, the larger, stronger muscles, are the ones that we're going to understand and we're going to be able to form our own type of physical therapy with. We can make our own practice once we understand our bodies well. So what are these skeletal muscles? Well, these are the muscles that we can use consciously. I got the word. Conscious movement. In other words, if we want to move our arm or if we want to move our legs, we can do that by our willpower. Our brain sends a message to our nerves. Our nerves sends a message to the muscles. The nerve endings fire, the muscles move. And what happens when the muscles move? The bones move. So this is called the somatic nervous system. The somatic nervous system is basically our voluntary nervous system. We use our own will. This type of muscle can be called skeletal muscle. Another word for it is striated muscle. That's a technical term, striated muscle tissue, simply meaning that under a microscope, if you look deeply at these muscles, the little fibers look somewhat crisscrossed or shaded in light and dark sections. Light, then dark, light, then dark. These are tiny little sections we're talking about. So it looks striated, that's the word for it. This is the opposite of what's called smooth muscle tissue. We will not be talking about smooth muscle tissue today in the lecture, but smooth muscle tissue you'll find within the vessels of the arteries, in your air passages, in your digestive tract. These are the muscles that are involuntary. We do not have our conscious will exerting power over them, and they're really controlled by what's known as the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, which we're not really going to get into today at all. The last type of muscle is the cardiac muscle, our heart. So the heart muscle is kind of a split between the two, interestingly enough. We all know that the heart will keep beating and beating, and hopefully, and we don't exert our willpower over it. But it's an involuntary muscle, yet it is striated. The muscle tissue in the heart is also striated, just like our skeletal muscle. So basically what we're talking about today is skeletal muscle. One last thing about skeletal muscle, which is interesting, is that we actually use it subconsciously as well. We don't realize this, but the muscle like the diaphragm muscle, the diaphragm rests right under our rib cage. The diaphragm is the main muscle of respiration. So whenever we breathe, we're using our diaphragm. I don't care if you're breathing to your belly or your chest. Some people say diaphragmatic breathing or non-diaphragmatic breathing. The diaphragm's always involved on the inhalation. And we do that when we're sleeping as well. So that's a subconscious act. When we're standing, when I'm lifting myself up against gravity, when I'm walking, when we do this all day long, this is also a subconscious act. We have to use certain muscles against gravity. So we're using striated skeletal muscle subconsciously in that way.